Hello, good evening, everybody. I had to think about doing this, but I think it's necessary. I want to do it mainly because I want people to kind of understand what happened. I cannot talk about future litigation. Litigation is ongoing. This is just the beginning. Um, but so I can't talk about that, which is why I decided I was going to do a live. I may do a live on Sunday and answer some of your questions because I want obviously you to participate. Um, but I just thought I'd explain. I can tell you what's past, what happened, how it came to this. I can talk about that. Now, before I get to that, something has been bugging me for like the last couple of weeks, actually, and but it wasn't bugging me enough to do a whole show about it. I just thought I'd mention it next time I do a show. So here's what happened. So the last show that I did with Grumpy Italian, sub to his channel, it's called The Grumpy Italian. And he spoke. It was his first time speaking and actually doing a live, I believe, where he actually spoke and talked to people. And during that show, basically what it is, we did a segment on what does he think of the creators, what drove him to actually make a channel, and I reeled off some of the main players, not all of them. Sorry if I left you out or whatever, but it was just to see what he thought, before he decided to become an actual creator. And so, I reeled off a few creators and their channels. And after the show was finished, I get a text message from Lee Cole. I'm not going to put it up and I'm not going to read it, but the gist of it was, don't mix I'm a serious channel. Don't mix my channel up in this MobTube thing. We're doing a serious thing. And so my first response to him was, well, I didn't say anything bad about your channel. Now, I don't think Grumpy did he? I'm not sure. He may have. He's entitled to his opinion. But my first thing was, it wasn't done in a malicious way. It was just, I was asking him what he thought of these people and, these particular channels. Now, and furthermore, I think during that show, I said, the main players. So when I responded, I kind of said, well, I said you're one of the main players. What do you mean? And I don't put my channel in with this group channel, blah, blah, blah. So let me tell you something, Lee. Okay. Now, when MobTube started, it was you, it was FBS, and Cane Shades. You three kind of were the catalyst that kind of started it. It wasn't supposed to be the way it's turned out, true enough, but that's where it is. Okay. Now, for you to have the balls to say, don't put my channel, we're above that, like you're above all of this. You're the one that actually, you're the catalyst. You are the first one. Now, and let me tell you, when I started, FBS started, and I think Cane Shades, they hadn't really had any experience on YouTube, as far as I understand. Correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I think none of us had really had any type of experience. I started after you lot, but, in any event, nobody really had any experience on YouTube. You did. because you'd been doing a show with your son. So you knew about doxing, you knew about certain things. You are the first doxer. You are the reason I even started a channel. And I'll tell you why. Because what you did was you got in an argument with Stacks. You brought him on your show. You had all his information sitting on your desk. You brought up his baby mother, his child support, arguments he's had with his ex, and all kinds of crap. You did that. And then when Stacks got mad and jumped off, what did you do? You tapped the papers that you had on your desk and you said, oh, I'm sorry he jumped off. I was just about to go into his prison record. So you are actually the first doxer within this community. You doxed me, you and others. You didn't personally do it, but you knew about it. You were behind it. You were the first one to dox me, put my address, phone number, all that stuff up. That was you. So for you to sit here now talking about you're above this, but the biggest part of this that is so hypocritical is you're above this, but the day before you were on panel with an attack channel, essentially, that spent the whole show attacking me. Now, did you say anything? No. You just sat there with a shit-eating grin on your face, is what you did. But you're above that. You're above that. You've got the balls to text me about you're above that when the day before you were sitting there like that, listening to all that crap. Really? You're not above nothing. Okay? Zero. The things you have said about Angel, you're the first one. You're not the first one. Let me take that back. But what you did was worse than anything I've ever seen on here, when you blamed her own brother, her young brother, for his own death. And what was so bad about that? You refused to take it down. You refused. But, oh no, you're above all that, right? Above all that. And that simpering freaking ode you did to Angel the other day, you've got some balls. I was just thinking to myself, is he for real? Are you for real? You were the worst to her than or equally as bad as anyone else, if not worse. What you said about her brother, what you said about her father. It's all there. It's all on video. But you're above all that. The only reason you're doing what you're doing now is because when you fell out with Angel, had FBS and them had taken you back, that is where you would be right now. That is where you would be. Okay? So I ain't trying to hear that. You're not above nothing. In fact, you are the main number one, or the one that really started it, where people felt they could dox and whatever. I know I did. I thought it was no old barred. I didn't understand the inner workings of it, but you did. And one more thing, if I hear you mention, because you sit up on people's shows crying, Josie got my son on her show, she did. First of all, he wasn't on my show. He was on Stacks' show. And he could have come on my show, but I let Stacks have him simply because of what you did to Stacks. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I did not search for him. I didn't hunt him down. He contacted me. He saw the crap that you were doing, and he left me a long comment asking if he could speak with me. He emailed me, etc. Now, when he went on Stax's show, I don't feel he said anything too much out of the way. But behind the scenes, he had plenty to say. But Stax and I had a little bit of integrity. We weren't going to do that. And as far as I know, Stax hasn't mentioned it, and neither have I till now. But don't text me with your bullshit, okay? You're above all of this now. Really? Okay. Whatever. Anyway, moving on. So I just feel women on here, men also, need to know you do not have to put up with certain things. You don't. And I did something about it, and it's ongoing. This is just the beginning. And so what I've noticed is a lot of people have suddenly become Johnny Cochran. Okay? So let's start with cease and desist. Let's start with that. Now, a lot of people, including myself at the time, thought, well, the hell is it? What's that going to do? Nobody gives a crap about cease and desist. They don't. It means nothing. Wrong. You're wrong. Now, I've never done this before, had to do this. And you can bet your sweet ass I sought counsel. Of course. I'd be crazy not to. I don't know what I'm doing. And I was advised to start with cease and desist. Because even though it's a piece of paper, it means nothing. You can wipe your backside with it if you want to. It shows the court and the judge that you have tried to resolve it outside of the court. That's the reason for the cease and desist. So to say it's nothing, no. It shows the court that you have tried to resolve it. That's the purpose of that. So I did that. I did cease and desist. I also made a phone call, which the judge is aware of. And nothing came of that. So here I am in front of you. Anyway, so I don't know about other states, but in North Carolina, and I'm pretty sure most states are the same, you cannot walk into the courthouse and ask for a restraining order or, something along those lines. Just willy-nilly. I was told, okay, go ahead, we'll file the complaint. And what the clerk said was, generally, I wouldn't say as many as 50%, but maybe 30% of complaints are tossed out. It has to go. You go make your complaint. Okay, now it goes before the judge. He decides if your case has merit. If it doesn't have merit, he's throwing it out. And I was told, okay, it'll go before the judge. It'll be probably a couple of days before you hear anything as to whether he's accepted it, he thinks it has merit, or he's tossed it out. So, okay, I thought, oh, all right, this is new. I didn't know that. So, I want to say 2 hours later, I got a phone call to say it was accepted. This is your court date. I was being sent the paperwork. Excuse me. I was being sent the paperwork, and we went from there. Now, the first court appearance, it went very quickly. The the subject wasn't served, so the judge continued it. Second, they asked, did I have another address, which I did. We tried again. The judge continued it. It went out. Second court appearance, same thing. They were unable to serve. Third appearance, it was kind of funny because I was sitting next to this woman, and before, there were people ahead of you that were heard first or whatever. And actually that was a good thing because it was a learning experience, because the judge basically wants facts. He doesn't want you going in there, oh, he did this, he did that, no, just get to the point, essentially. A lot of people tend to ramble. So it was a learning thing. So I'm glad that, people went ahead of me. But this lady sitting next to me, she says, this is my 8th time being here. And it was at this point that I thought, oh my God, 8 times, and I had to have a little word with myself. Is it worth it? Is it worth me? Is it, and I decided, yes, it is. Yeah, it is worth it. If I'd have had to go 50 times, I would have gone, because it has to stop. Somebody's got to do something on here. And there's a lot of talk and no doing. And I thought, okay, I've come this far, I've got to continue. And so what happened is, this time, no, I don't know if it was the 3rd time or the 4th time. It was possibly the 4th time. Yeah, the judge, so a lot of people went ahead of me. And prior to this, I'd been in and out pretty quickly. And it was taking a long time. And so he'd done with the last person, and he's reading, and I'm looking and I'm thinking, is that my file? Because my file was this thick. And I thought, I wonder if that's my file. I wonder if I'm next, and he's reading and he's reading and he's getting on his phone. He's reading. And it was good like 10 minutes. And then finally he called our names, and he told me to come to the front, And he apologized. He said, I'm sorry this is taking a minute. He said, but because, I know what it was. The 3rd time I had got process servers, because once I realized, okay, this isn't working out, I'm going to have to get process servers. So that's what I did. And they didn't have, they did. They managed to serve it on the house, but they couldn't catch up with him. So that was the 3rd time. So this time, the judge calls me, and he's looking at his phone and he's reading the papers, and he said, I'm so sorry to have kept you waiting. He said, but I'm looking for a statute. Now, bearing in mind, prior to this, people had gone ahead of me, and there was one lady that the guy she was trying to serve was in Ohio, and that several out-of-state ones, and he basically told them, okay, we'll continue it. He hasn't been served, we'll continue it. But I think because I got process servers, and from what he had read, he took it more seriously. So he said, I'm looking for, a statute. And he said, oh, here it is. He said, okay, Miss Lee. He said, here's what we're going to do. He said, you need to run it in the newspaper for 4 weeks straight. And once you've done that, I will accept that as service. So that's what I did. I ran it in the newspaper for 4 weeks, and you all know what happened there. And so when I went back this time, I honestly didn't know what was going to happen. I really didn't. I didn't know. What happened was it was a different judge. It wasn't the same judge that I'd been seeing all this time. This was Judge Welsh. And so in the beginning, he kind of looked and he said, did you get an affidavit from the newspaper? So I said, no, I didn't have to, because, you know, every week that it was run, they sent me the copy with the date, etc. So I had 4 weeks to show him. You know, I showed him the whole thing. He said, oh, you've been very thorough here. You have the whole thing. So he said, well, he read through it, and then he said, well, sit down. You know, he got through a few more people. And then he said, okay, you know, I've got 4 cases here. There were a couple of people that he saw before me. And what I noticed there as well was some people had attorneys, some people didn't. But what they tried to do, like, for example, if there was a couple, the woman had the attorney or the guy had the attorney, the other one didn't, that attorney would said, I'd like to talk to both of them outside of the courtroom, and maybe we can resolve this without a hearing. And that's generally what they try to do. So, you know, I kind of noticed that. Anyway, so he calls me up and he says, okay, so the judge prior, Judge Searles, his name, he said, I see that he asked you to run it, you know, in the newspaper for 4 weeks, and he would accept that as service. So I said, yeah, that's correct. So he said, okay, well, stand up, made me take the oath, and you know, asked me some questions, and granted the order. Now, what kind of struck me about it was, at the end, you know, the order was granted, whatever. I get up to go, and he said, Miss Lee, you know, he was very concerned. He was appalled, actually. I don't want to go into it. I don't, you know, I'm not going to talk about things per se, but let's just say he heard and saw for himself what I was dealing with, and that's the only thing that Don Bellin got kind of right. Part of the reason I was given the order is because of past behavior. And, you know, a good indicator of future behavior is past behavior. And so that played a part. But the main nail in the coffin were his own words, and he could hear him, especially the sexual talk. Now, I think there's been a bit of a confusion or misconception about the sexual part of this. It doesn't mean that he's chasing after me, he wants me, that type of thing. That's not it. It's when you're talking about dark-colored phalluses, should we say? When you're calling people filthy names, when you're doing that kind of thing, and it has a sexual overtone to it. It happened again just yesterday. Thank you, and I want to thank everybody that clipped these last few days for me. It's going to be very helpful. The sexual overtones were brought on again yesterday. So, you know, hey. Anyway, that's what that means. It's not that, oh, he wants me, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's the, well, you've all heard. Sucker, you know, big, whatever. You've all heard it, you know. That it was past behavior and that and other things, a couple of other things. So that's what sealed the deal as far as me getting it. But other than that, Don Berlin was spot on with what he had to say. Absolutely, spot on. Now, people have said that okay, it was Don Berlin that got the information, that he gave it to FBS, and FBS passed it on. Now, in the very beginning, I was livid because I couldn't understand why this man would be getting people's, people like me. Who am I? I'm nobody. People like me just to, torture me on YouTube, basically. Not just me, other people. And so they feel that Don Berlin, FBS, should be held accountable for that. Well, here's how what I think about that. At first, I was very angry, yes, and I did think about suing his ass, absolutely. Realistic. You've got to be realistic. Now, what changed my mind, actually, was Johnny Mac, believe it or not. Johnny Mac did a show, and he was saying that he had been on the phone and heard him ask for people's information. Do a deep dive was his exact words. So I have that. FBS did a show where he corroborated that. He said he was on the phone, do a scan, and he was told, apparently what was said was, can't do it right now, somebody's here, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it later, or whatever. So that's two people saying the same thing. There's no evidence. FBS did say, I have your social, I have, I'm going to ruin your life, blah, blah, blah. That is just talk. He didn't hold up anything. I've got video of it being held up and saying in this packet, I have Josie's social and Lee Cole's. He's saying that. So the evidence I have to be able to take this further lies there, not with Don Berlin and FBS, because there is no evidence, none, to say Don Berlin did that or even FBS did that. Just because he said he had my social or whatever, that could have come from from him. And two people saying really the same thing. So that's where I am with it. I believe it came from that law firm. And, another thing, FBS was right. I watched his show the other day, and he was saying that when we all started, everybody went after one another. It got vicious at times, sure did. But there was never this dark freaking, it never went to this level where it is now until that was brought in. I believe that to be true. I think that's true. We did all go at each other. It was entertaining. People loved seeing everybody fight and go back and forth. They did. And, and what keeps getting brought up is she put on DJ Never Know Mine. Well, I took a look at that video the other day. And fair enough. Part of the reason, actually, that I put him on is because I was threatened not to by that person. I was threatened not to. So as soon as you do that, don't do that. Don't do that. So that was part of the reason. Second reason, I don't know if that man's telling the truth or not. When I look back at that video, I actually hammered him with questions pretty good, I thought. You know, it wasn't that I was agreeing with him or disagreeing with him. I asked him questions. How did you meet? How this? How that? It's up to the individual what they make of that. But what I will say is, you can't bring a lawsuit for somebody else in any event. One thing has nothing to do with the other. That has nothing to do with the fact that I've been physically threatened, sexually harassed every single day. In fact, since the order came down, I have 5 incidences that have already violated that order. Hold on a minute. I'm just going to grab some water, okay? Hang on one sec. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know. This room gets really dry, you know. I get like feels like dust particles in my throat. But anyway, one thing hasn't to do with the other. And I've had some pretty vicious things done to me. We all have. But I totally agree with FBS as far as it's never gone to this disgusting level that it is at now, you know. And I just want any woman on here or man, if you feel, you know, if it's going too far, it's going too far. Let me put it that way, you know. And so I've done something about it. The order was granted for 1 year, but what was said was, should it continue, I can extend that order. Generally, I would have liked a lifetime, but generally what I was told is they start at a year, and then if it continues, which it is continuing every day, then I can up it, you know, into more. And so I wanted to just share what Don Berlin had to say. Fair use. And let me share this, because he kind of laid it out, and he laid it out very well, I thought. Just that one little thing where 80% was not on past behavior. I would say 50-50, because his own words actually didn't help. Let me put it that way. Anyway, let me share this with you. Okay. All right. Let's make it bigger. All right. I'm going to mute. If I can find the mouse. I don't know if anyone else has this problem. My mouse like starts acting up. Okay, so I'm going
with basically the short story of what you're talking about, these, you know, TROs. So TROs, when they're between states, operate under the Interstate Compact and are enforceable through what is known as the long arm statute. So what that basically means is the Florida judge issues the order, which he got yesterday. Okay, so that's the order. So now that's issued and that will be registered. So when those orders come out, they're automatically sent to the sheriff, and then they're put into NCIC so that everybody is aware that that order is in place. And all that Josie would ever have to do is call 911 and say, I got the order, it's registered, it's in NCIC. And then, of course, this presumes she's in the state of Florida at the time. Then the sheriff would go out and execute on the order. There's no bond on those orders because it's a contempt order. So now that's if she's in the state. If she's out of state, meaning in North Carolina, then what she would do is she would go back before the judge. She would ask for a rule to show cause, why he should not be held in contempt. Okay, the judge would then hear the evidence, much like the evidence was in this immediate, proceeding. He would then issue a rule to show cause. He would then have a right to answer it voluntarily. Okay. If he failed to answer it or failed to appear on the rule to show cause, then a bench warrant would issue. So now when the judge issues the bench warrant from North Carolina, that's national in nature. So that goes into NCIC wherever he is in the country, and there's a bench warrant issued on North Carolina. That's a writ of detainer, and then they would pick him up on that. Now then, the sheriff in Florida now has him in custody. They call the sheriff's office in I guess it's in Oswego County, North Carolina, and essentially they say, "Do you want the body?" And if the judge says, "Hell yes," I'll send the sheriff.
I wish when they said, "Do you want the body?" that he was actually dead, and it was just a body.
FBI, don't say that.
We're talking in a writ of habeas corpus kind of.
I'd be lying if I said anything else, Judge.
I know.
I know, but you can't say that. Anyway, so then the high sheriff of North Carolina would then say, "Yeah, we want the body. This judge is pissed. He wants him back here." Okay. So the Florida sheriff that held him would say, "Come get him." And they would give him a period of time, usually it's 72 hours, sometimes shorter, sometimes longer, depends on which state is involved. And then they would zoom down there, usually by car, and pick him up and put him on the Diesel Express back to North Carolina via Phoenix, Arizona, and slowly he would make it up to North Carolina. So then now he appears in North Carolina. And again, all through this process, it's no bond. There's no bond for a bench warrant because it's a contempt against that particular judge that issued the order yesterday. He's the only one that can release you. He's the only one that can set bond too, because it's a direct contempt of his court. Okay. And then there'll be a hearing and whatever. And at which point, he could dispose of it, But and then the other point that you were talking about is mentioning her name alone in a show. Okay, is that enough? My opinion would be no. It would not be enough because it isn't contact. Contact is just like you were saying. It's like by email, by phone, by indirect. Okay, if it was an indirect. Someone I told so and so to give her a call, that
right?
kind of
or
thing.
if he posted a comment on one of her videos,
Yeah,
that would be considered contact.
But here's the thing: isn't there there's different types of restraining orders and shit, right? So maybe she has some, because like they said, Jen Bailey had a restraining order against her, and she violated twice just by talking about the person. And I've heard people from that women community say that they can get these protection, orders of protection against them, against people, and those people can't even say their fucking names. So I don't know.
It might be. Would it depend on how it's written, Don? Like if it's specifically written in there?
Right. It would. First off, you have to look at the original complaint and the prayer, in the complaint to see, what it was that she was seeking and hoping to obtain, and versus what the judge was really going to allow. And a lot of these are per forma. They're very form fitted. Now, sometimes a judge will deviate based upon the facts. The other thing I would agree with is what you said too. I think this TRO was issued based on this history. Now that was probably 80% of the reason, because You know that Josie brought in his entire criminal record. It's all admissible. Every bit of it is admissible, especially the convictions. But even arrests would be admissible at that stage of the proceeding. Okay, but it's all admissible, and a judge is never going to deny that kind of order with that kind of background. God forbid something happened to Josie. Okay, God forbid. And he denied that order. No way. That would be, they would march him off the bench. So when the judge was given that information, whatever, he's not going to take that kind of risk. He's going to issue the order and then work it out later. Because as I say, God forbid anything ever happened to her as a result of him or whomever, it would be on him. So that would be my take of it anyway. But either way, it goes back to what Chris was saying. It is, in one sense, yeah, it's a piece of paper. Yeah, I get that and what have you. But in the other sense, it is a moral victory. And, one of the things that he has problems with, he's an obsessive compulsive disorder, and he cannot stop. There is no clutch or break for him. He'll violate this order and repeatedly violate it and keep on walking up to the line and cross over it and whatever. She's just got to be patient and keep on making the reports as he does the things. If he didn't understand that upon issuance of that order, he had better keep his mouth shut and say nothing about her, then it's not going to be too long whereby he crosses the line. And it's not going to take much for him to cross the line either, because a lot of those judges, they don't have any tolerance because they don't want to take a risk,
Okay, so that basically laid it out, and he's correct on. Hold on, let me get rid of that. Okay, he's correct on most of it. Now, what I I asked about that, and as far as my name, that type of stuff, and because what I had told the judge was, the main weapon here is social media. That's his main way of attack. And what he said was, and Mark said this the other day, he was also correct, that electronic means covers that. Now, I don't know if it was the day of the order or the next day, but I'm asked, contact me if you want to do a lawsuit against Don Pellin and FBI. I don't understand what isn't understood here. You're asking me to contact you. Not just that. I mean, there have been at least 5, if not more, violations of this order. Now, to be honest, my thought was, give it a minute. I'm not going to go running in there with 2 or 3 things. I'm just going to let it play out. When I do go in, which is coming, actually, the more it continues, it's definitely coming. I'm going in with more than one. I can show it was violated on the day, the next day, the next day, the next day, the next day, every day since, actually. So I'm going to give it a minute, but I'm not going to sit on it too long because. No, why should I? That's what the order's there. And people say, oh, it's just a piece of paper. It's a very significant piece of paper, actually. and it needed to be in place. It needed to be in place. That was my advice. Now, there are different types of orders, and in actual fact, I did not ask for this particular order, the stalking and the non-consensual sexual, whatever that said. I've got it back there. I don't recall exactly what it says, but I didn't actually ask for that. What they did, they read the complaint and they gave me the order that fitted my complaint, which was they felt was stalking and the sexual conduct thing. That's the order that they felt fitted that, and so that's why they did that. There are other orders, you know, many different ones, but that's the one that they gave me. You know, I didn't ask for that. I didn't know that there were different orders. You know, I just thought they were all the same. No, they're not. You know, and so that's where that is. Just want to make sure I didn't forget anything. Yeah, so electronic covers social media. That's what I was told. And so far, it's been broken every single day. Anyway, you know, that's it. I just wanted you to know what took place. You know, I can't go into too much detail. There was way more to it. There was way more, but you know, that's basically the gist of it. And you know, we'll see what happens. But everyone on here, don't take that crap lying down. You know, just don't. You know, you have enough is enough already. Enough is enough. It's been over 1.5 years, and it's enough. And I've had enough, you know, and I'm not bowing down. I'm not bending a knee. I'm not making friends. I'm not falling for any of that, because too much has been done, way too much. But, you know, that's where it's at. Now, so I'm going to end this. I just want to say, give Angel my condolences for Chanel. I saw her thumbnail. And why would somebody make that up? Why would anybody make that up? You know, no, you know, all us people that have dogs and pet owners, we love our dogs. They're like part of the family. They're like our kids. I had actually a very, very similar situation a couple of weeks before MRE had that going on with Rocco. So Winston ate something, and he was all lethargic for a few days. He wouldn't eat, he wouldn't drink. I did everything to try and make him eat. I even cooked him a pork chop. I went and got him, because usually when he's sick, I'll get him, you know, chicken broth or beef broth, and he loves that. Normally, if he doesn't eat, he'll drink that, but he wouldn't even take that. And so finally I was like, oh, the hell with this, because it had gone on for like 3 days. On day 3, I thought, no, I've got to take him to the vet. But I couldn't take him to my regular vet. I had to take him to the, you know, emergency clinic, because my vet was closed. And actually, it was funny. I was so worried, and I bring him in, and she asked what was going on. And I said, oh, my God, you know, he won't eat. And he's looking all sad, you know. So she goes outside, comes back in with a bowl of food. And she said, this is like a protein food, because he hasn't eaten, you know, this is like a type of medicinal type dog. Do you know, she put that in front of him, and do you know that sod ate it? I was like, oh my God. I'd been almost crying, saying, oh, please eat something, please. Do you know he ate it? And then she went and got him a little more, and he ate that. I was like, oh my God. Anyway, they did some tests on him, and basically what, you know, I said, well, what was wrong with him then? Because Winston's one of them. You know, he likes to chew rocks. He'll get pieces of wood. He does it because he knows If I see him with something and I try and get it for me, he starts growling, you know, and so I'll get a treat and I'll give him the treat and then he gives it to me. So he does that on the regular. But anyway, she said he had some sort of probable stomach virus, something like that. They gave him a steroid shot. She gave me some antibiotics for him. And within a day or two, he was right back to normal and he's fine. But it is very worrying. When MRE said that about Rock, I was like, oh my God, I just went through that. You know, those emergency rooms are expensive for the dogs. It's like being a human emergency room, to be honest. But we love them that much that, you know, money didn't matter at that point. But for somebody to say that, you know, Angel would make that up, that's ridiculous. But I am really sorry, Angel. I know you loved that dog, you know, I love mine, and I know that time is going to come, and I'm really not looking forward to it. But comfort yourself in the fact that the dog had a great life, spoiled, pampered, the best food, you know, was never cold, wet, or hungry. You know, you did your best to buy the dog, and the dog, you know, dogs' lives are short, and that dog had a great life. And so comfort yourself with that. And that's how I intend to comfort myself when it's my time, you know, when I've got to say goodbye to Sir Winston and Lady Diana. But anyway, that's it for me for now. I want to do a live. I think I'm going to do a live on Sunday. Tomorrow is beach day. I've got to get to the beach and just relax. And I'm also still continuing with Chronicles 2. Oh my God, this is going to be like the Bible when I'm done. But anyway, so everybody take care. That's it from me. And we'll see what happens. Just know I'm not going to be bullied. I'm not going to be told what to do. I'm not going to be threatened. And this order is in place for a reason. It is. Anyway, everyone take care and see you soon. If I do go on Sunday, I'll put something up Saturday. Okay, so